I think our human brains like data. It helps paint pictures. It can give you a good understanding of what's going on, and in particular, when it comes to the crisis at the southern border, the data is quite staggering. Not only that we have 125 Illinois National Guard troops from an East St. Louis transportation company preparing to go down to the southern border, but the fact that we've seen an absolute skyrocket number of actual encounters that the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol has made of those crossing the border illegally. And I want to pull up a chart here from Customs and Border Patrol, there you go, CBP, to kind of elucidate a bit of what exactly we're looking at when it comes to the problems at the southern border. So if you are following along online, you'll see this is an official chart from the Customs and Border Protection. And it shows just how drastic of an increase there's been in the past few years. So in 2019, the total number of encounters that Customs and Border Patrol had was just under 1 million, so 977,000 encounters. So that was during the Trump administration. Then during the year of COVID, during the Trump administration, there were fewer than 500,000 enforcement encounters. Now, when Joe Biden takes office, you can see here the absolute increase, up to 1.7 million encounters, actually 1,734,686 encounters that Customs and Border Patrol had with people crossing the border illegally. And then this year, surpassing all of last year so far this calendar year at 2.15 million encounters. So you go from the low in 2020, just in the past few years, of less than 500,000 to more than 2.15 million. It definitely shows that there's a problem, and I don't think you can say that it's not a crisis. But I asked U.S. Senator Dick Durbin yesterday, and you'll hear it now with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, about the National Guard going down to the southwest border to help in ongoing border protection missions, but also you've got soldiers that are helping with an intake of migrants coming to the Chicagoland area. And here's some of what Senator Dick Durbin had to say yesterday when I asked him about the crisis at the southern border.
We have a problem at the border, and the problem comes from 3 countries that are sending more people to us than ever: Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. We don't have a solid relationship with the governments of those countries, and so there's no negotiation to try to slow down the flow. The people who are coming here are truly trying to escape totalitarian regimes and miserable living conditions. I've met with them. Now, what the governors have done in Texas, in Florida, and Arizona is inexcusable. They're using these people as pawns in some political debate. That is just unfair and inhumane. I've met with the people as they came off the buses in Chicago, sat down with them. They've gone through a desperate journey to the United States. Some of them have been robbed. I met a woman who was assaulted during the trip. It's something no one would ever want to go through. We need to rewrite our immigration laws in America. They are broken. We need to have a system that makes sense. This system does not.
What's that gonna take? We've been hearing decades of
a majority in Congress that agrees with me. That's what it's going to take. We don't have that now. Sadly, not the only force, but the major force for change is on one side of the aisle with my party. The other party would rather exploit this issue for political reasons, and I wish they wouldn't. I think we need to sit down and work together. We need an orderly process at the border. We need to make sure that we never knowingly allow a dangerous person to enter this country. We have to acknowledge the fact that we cannot accept everyone who wants to come to the United States at this time. We have to have a process that brings in the workforce that we need for the future of this country.
So again, that's Senator Dick Durbin yesterday responding to my questions about the southern border, and then other reporters started asking questions about the situation, and in particular, another question from me about ensuring that we're doing what we can to secure the border. Again, here is Senator Dick Durbin from yesterday. yesterday outside of the ribbon cutting that he was officially there for.
Last week we passed a continuing resolution. We asked for relief in that bill for the communities that are dealing with the immigrants who've come to this country, for housing, for basic medical care, for food, and it was turned down by the other political party. They frankly would rather see chaos and unfortunately human suffering as part of their political campaign. I don't accept that. These people came to the United States in desperate situations. They are in the country legally today, but our laws don't help them once they're here. The laws say that you have to wait 6 months to a year once you're here, even legally, before you can work. Now, what in the heck are they going to do to feed their families? So we've reached the point where we clearly need to look at our immigration laws across the board.
So again, Senator Durbin reiterating that we need to look at our immigration laws. But I ask, hey, you laid out that process. They have to be here for 6 months to a year before they actually can get through the asylum process. But are we doing everything we can to ensure we're not allowing potentially harmful people here, terrorists, human traffickers, drug traffickers? Here is Senator Durbin.
Well, they end up registering with our government in order to be accepted across the border. And background checks are done at that time. COVID tests are given, as they should be. But, I want to make it clear. I am not saying skirt around the rules. We got to basically have protections to make sure we never knowingly allow a dangerous person to come in this country.
So I also asked Senator Durbin a few other questions about the immigration issue, and in particular, some other questions that were raised dealt with housing, dealt with how to exactly take care of these individuals that are in this country, either through the legal process of seeking asylum or through the process of being here illegally. But I also was able to touch base with Mayor Jim Langfelder, and I asked him about, has the city received any migrants that he's aware of? And he talked about the city's position in all of this here in Springfield, as you've seen Chicago getting migrants from Texas, and even some of the suburban areas of Chicago getting migrants from Texas. Has it happened in Springfield? Not to Mayor Langfelder's knowledge, but he does talk a little bit about the issue and how it would be handled in Springfield.
Well, it's my understanding they go to sanctuary cities is what they're doing. We're not one of those. But really the key component, I've shared this with someone that inquired on the state level, and I just said, really what you need to do is find sponsors for individuals, because you don't want people coming in, and you have this with prisoner release or in this case migrants. You want them to be supported to be successful. You just don't want to put them in a city where they're not supported and then they end up on the streets and responsibilities of cities. So back in the day when my father came to this country, that's what it was all about. You couldn't make it unless you had a sponsor. And that's what I expressed. They should come up with a sponsoring system where someone's accountable for the individual that they're, saying they would help support.
So again, that's Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder discussing some of the things he wants to see happen if it comes to Springfield having to take in any kind of migrant flow. We'll take a quick call here at 217-629-7970. Good morning. You are on WMAY. Your thoughts about all of this?
Two things, Greg. One, I just heard the funniest comment ever. I heard Dick Durbin say that they need to work together as political parties. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life, because he never works with the other party. But anyway, I got an idea how to solve this. I really do. So you drive down the streets and you see these people's houses with these signs that say, it doesn't matter what race you are, what sexuality you are, they welcome you. Just today, I've seen at least 13 homes with them signs. When them illegals come, let them live in their houses for whatever period of time it takes for them to get on their feet.
Sure. Well, and I'll tell you, to your first point, Durbin has worked with Republicans, and Republicans have worked with Durbin, and Democrats and Republicans regularly work together on certain issues. However, there are other issues. It's like oil and water trying to get the two sides together. Totally get that. Second, you're kind of talking about what Mayor Jim Langfelder said, that we need to have sponsors of individuals. People need to step up. And if you have that, if you want to support the current system where we've seen, again, according to Customs and Border Patrol, we've seen just an absolute massive influx of the number of migrants crossing the border illegally or having had some kind of interaction with the people crossing the border, and it's jumped drastically. We had somewhat controlled system under former President Trump, but you can see that from 2020, the last year of Trump's administration, less than 500,000 enforcement efforts, and then it goes to 1.7 million, and then this year alone, and we're not done with this year, 2.1 million increase. So you're seeing that the different policies from Joe Biden are causing this problem. But I think Senator Durbin made it clear that he's not hiding from the fact that we've got a serious problem at the border, and he says that it's not being negotiated with the countries that are the major outbound migrant flow countries.
We have a problem at the border, and the problem comes from three countries that are sending more people to us than ever: Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. We don't have a solid relationship with the governments of those countries, and so there's no negotiation to try to slow down the flow.
No negotiation to try to slow down the flow. Who would be doing those negotiations? You would assume it would be the current commander-in-chief, President Joe Biden. So why aren't we having those negotiations? All right, it's Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News.